Welcome to the Diane McClay Show, empowering life through choice. Get ready to discover new perspectives, motivation, and balance through Diane's compassionate storytelling and insightful discussions. Whether you're feeling stuck and discouraged or curious and looking for more possibilities, Diane has your back and she's ready to take you on a journey of self-discovery and expansion. Choice is powerful, and so are you. The Diane McClay Show starts now.
Welcome in, everybody, to another Friday on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm your host, Diane McClay, and you are on the Diane McClay Show, where every Friday we try to encourage you to empower your life through choice. I am so excited. The queen of sparkle is in the house today. My friend and sparkle mentor Kim Selby is with us, and she is, believe it or not, if our viewing audience looks at her right now, you would never guess that she's 21. Right? I'm totally kidding. I'm not going to give her age away, but as the queen of sparkle, she's in maybe a little bit of the later part of her life. But the reason why I wanted to have her on today is because she believes that it's never too late for you to find your own sparkle, get reconnected to your passion, and also share your sparkle with other people so that they can get lit. Kim, welcome in. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about yourself, talk about the first act, maybe the second act. I'm not going to tell everybody exactly where you're at in your life unless you want to.
I don't care.
But welcome in. I'm looking forward to this conversation because you and I connected energetically. We felt like we both could feed into each other's messaging and feed into each other's energy. So take it away. Let everybody know who you are, what you believe in, and how you showed up today.
Okay, thank you for having me, Diane. Yes, we did connect energetically. Now, I just want to know, do you still want to talk? Because what happens when I start on a roll is that it doesn't stop. So you will have to interject me. I'm like a speeding train when I start talking about myself.
Well, our topic, I want to connect your passion for sparkle and allowing other people to find their shine. And I want to connect that with my messaging of choice and courage. So let's just have a back and forth. Let's just take the ball back and forth. Let's see where it goes. And, as always, our producer, Jacob, who makes us look good and sound good in the background, every now and then he's got some moments of brilliance, actually has them all the time. So, he's always invited in the conversation at any point in time also. So just tell people a little bit about yourself. How did you get here to this purporting passion and sparkle in life? And let's just, give everybody a little bit about who you are.
Okay, thank you. I was kidding because I can stop.
I know.
At the age of 5, when I was asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, as parents and adults used to do, and they probably still do, but I don't think so as much, my answer was always, oh, I want to be a star. Now, I don't know why exactly I wanted to be a star, but stars are kind of my thing now, and it's interesting. We are all the stars in our own life, but not everybody embraces that. And my first time on stage, I don't recall exactly when, but somewhere around 5 to 7, I was in a little ballet musical kind of thing called The Littlest Star. Now, I did not get to be the littlest star. I was just a background, but I was shining as sharp and as bright as could be, standing there in my little halo, doing whatever the heck I did. And I just knew I loved to see people's faces light up when I made them laugh or made them applaud. That just gave me such joy. To this day, when I hear someone laugh because of something I said, oh my gosh, my sparks are flying. So I don't know what it is about some of us that just love to perform, but I love to perform. I love to be on a stage. And I don't mean it in a narcissistic way. I really get joy out of seeing someone get joy from something I'm doing. However, my parents were very supportive but practical people and did not want me to pursue a career in theater. However, every time I had the opportunity to audition for anything as a kid in high school or, elementary school or whatever, when your school does it, I did it. I was on that stage. But I also really enjoyed being a part of a community. I was an only child and I loved school. That ignited my spark, being around people, laughing, all my friends. And I lit up that way. And that's kind of fast forward. I did theater throughout my entire privileged, sheltered childhood as an private schools, all girls school, 7th to 12th grade. I had many opportunities in that environment, though, to shine, because when you are in a school with just single sex people and it's very small, you find your passion, you find your niche, and you are supported and applauded for that in the school that I attended, at least. So I never felt like anything was missing except siblings. I loved people. And then I went to college, and not for theater, and loved it. Small school, got the opportunity to shine by singing and dancing and doing theater when I could, loved it. And then I left, and I wanted to go to Yale Drama School, and my parents were like, no, but we'll pay for you to go to graduate school because that will give you something solid to rely on. So what do I choose? Broadcast journalism. Yeah. And finally, now I host a podcast. I'm old, but I don't care. When I was 64, I started a podcast. I'm like, well, that is finally, I'm behind a microphone. I'm meant to do that. Now, my whole life I've done theater. I lived in Manhattan. Well, see, I also have other stories of where my spark was dimmed. When I was in graduate school, my mother passed away. And that was very challenging in a way. It's a whole story. I was told on a Tuesday she had cancer and was dying, and she died on Thursday, and I flew home. So they kept a lot of secrets from me, my parents. They wanted me to go to school, blah, blah. And then after she died, my dad said, can you go through some stuff in this back room? I found out I was adopted. Hello. Yeah. So talk about a spark going, Ouija. But I grew up in such a manner that I believed in life after life, that when we pass, there is still life. We are a soul. We are merely here, human beings in this body for a short time. So that kept me going, knowing my mother was still in spirit. And I thought, well, if my parents didn't want me to know I was adopted, well, there's a reason. But I didn't think about it negatively. I didn't tell my dad, told a girlfriend I was in graduate school with who was adopted. Her mom told my dad, he told me eventually, blah, blah, another blah, blah story. However, I would say that is a big part of my identity now, and not really realizing who exactly I am. Like you have roots, Diane, probably where you came from, or at least your ancestors.
I do. Actually, my lineage, I can go back to about 1862. We have in my lineage, I can go back to named known people on the Mayflower, right? And it's interesting. I'm going to interrupt you for a minute because it's interesting because I have friends who also share the same story, where they grew up believing that they had a certain past, a certain connection to other people. And then they found out later that they don't. And so we've been having this conversation about how differently our lives are shaped, because I have a very long connection back to somebody prior to me, which ties into kind of family expectations, society, carrying the name forward. There can be a burden or a heaviness that comes with having a long lineage. At the same time, there's also an anchor point that can allow you to say, oh, this is how I fit into the world. And so I can understand that if you believe that you have that a certain way, and then you have information that takes that away, I can understand how that might not necessarily take your spark away, but it might change the perspective that you look at your spark.
Exactly. Love how you phrase that. But it does dim your spark. So many things in our life. I like to consider our heart spark. And in the mornings when I wake up, and I'm not always Miss, Pollyanna sunshine, most days, but not always. And I picture a little like not firecracker, but a little sparkler in my heart center. And I watch it ignite and go through my entire body. And my sense of finding out certain things are that it dims. The little light is still there, but it dims. And you have the choice to reignite it or not. And a lot of it comes from the way you are raised. And I was raised in a very positive home. Even though I didn't know my lineage, I thought I was Scottish and Irish and German. And I did my DNA about 7 years ago, and oh yeah, I'm half Jewish. And that turned the world on its side for me in the best possible way. Honestly, I had always had a connection to Judaism. I grew up in Miami Beach, Florida. Anybody who knows, you know, oy vey. I mean, there's a lot of Jewish people there, just saying. My first boyfriend, my first kiss, yeah, that too. All Jewish guys, you know? And I have spoken at friends of mine's kids' bar and bat mitzvahs. This is prior to knowing that I had this DNA. I wish I knew more about it. I do, because I love that feeling of belonging. Like, is McClay your maiden name?
It is. Yep.
Yeah. So are you Scottish?
Scotch. Yep.
Yes, I always thought
Scotch.
I was.
Yeah.
My maiden name was Duff, and my dad said they changed it from McDuff. I'm like, I'm Scottish. Give me the kilts. Bring it on. And now I'm not.
I want to tie this to the spark real quick, because I want to come back to one thing that popped in my head, and then I want to tie it, because as you're talking, you are a very vibrant, energetic, outgoing person. So am I. And that's one of the reasons why our energies bumped into each other. It's why literally, there was a little flame over here and a little flame over here. And, as soon as they bump into each other, we've got to call the Forest Service, because there's like a wild raging inferno that's running across the plains, right? So let's put a pause on that. For people that aren't as outgoing and energetic and very confident of who themselves are, I want to step into how can somebody recognize their spark or reignite it if they're an introvert, if they're a little bit quieter than you and I are, if they're maybe don't have as much of a sense of self as you and I do. Speak a little bit about, because our audience with Transformation Talk Radio, they tune in because they're looking for a transformation. They're looking for something, and maybe they don't even know what it is. So step us all the way back to this thing that you're calling a spark that maybe some people don't even know exists. Can you speak a little bit about that? And then we'll tie it back into kind of the sense of place and sense of self.
Beautiful question. I really honor that. And I understand that completely, because I really turn on in front of a camera when I'm talking to people in a conversation, and so many people don't. However, there is always, and I mean always, within every single human being, something that lights you up, whether you are an introvert or not. Perhaps it is a loved one. Perhaps it is seeing a grandchild, because yes, I am of that age where a lot of my friends have grandchildren. I do not yet. Thank you, children. Get on that. Okay. But I don't care what it is. Maybe it is making your favorite chicken dish, or it is sewing. Everybody has a gift. And I believe we are here to find that gift, unleash it, and share it. And that I call your spark. So my first suggestion is to someone, and I believe anybody listening to Transformation Talk Radio, and you or our friends all know that journaling is really the key component to unleashing what's inside, going still, quiet. I have done a few sessions of sparkle coaching with people because I am a certified creativity coach, and I like to call my version sparkle coaching. And my first thing for people is to ask them to get quiet. And really the first thing you have to do is close your eyes and picture your spark lighting up in your heart and filling your body. Then you quickly take pen to paper or fingers to computer and write down 5 things you wanted to be or do or love to do when you were 8 years old.
Like, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I can tell you that when I was in first grade, I wanted to be a park ranger. And I didn't know you could go to school to get a degree in recreation management. I thought you had to know the wildflowers in Latin, and by the time you were 5, in order to even remotely be considered for this prestigious job. And I can tell you that I'm going to add to your spark thing. You say, think of something that lit you up as a kid. I'm going to say, think of something that drives your curiosity, that makes you want to learn more. for me, that love of nature, that sense of being outdoors, I'm one of those people that if I find, just the other day, I was in Michigan and I found an exoskeleton of a June bug, completely whole. It literally looks like a bug, but there's no bug in it. And I picked it up and I was looking at it and I was curious, and then it made me Google something. And so for me, that connection to nature and that connection to learning about nature drove my desire to be a park ranger for a while. When I left that career, that spark didn't leave me. Just because I don't wear the hat anymore, because the badge isn't on the side of my sleeve, I'm not wearing the patch. I now realize that when I'm walking out anywhere, there's this moment of magic. It's serious magic when I see something or even feel something. And then I get blessed with the opportunity to experience it. I'm in Denver right now, middle of the day, the other day, 95 degrees out. We were going for a walk on a trail. 5 of my friends were ahead of me. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw something move. And I turned my head in time to see the rear end of a black bear running away from us. Right. And so there, first it was like bear. And then I was like, wow, I didn't think they were active during the day at 95 degrees. Right. And it turns out I was completely wrong. So the spark for me is being able to see and feel and experience something in nature and not know about it, but be driven enough to want to learn and then share a story about it with somebody else to help impact their day.
Oh, that is so powerful, Diane. That is really, really a valid something that I never thought of in regards to igniting your spark. However, as you were speaking, I was thinking, wouldn't it be fabulous if children were given the opportunity in schools to explore their real passions? Then you want to learn. You want to learn. I would have loved to have gone to school in theater because I love learning about theater. I love learning about plays. I love William Shakespeare. I love learning about how things are created. And if every little child was given that opportunity, people would be so much happier in life. And I understand we have to learn reading, writing, arithmetic, but also given that opportunity, you're right. Because of course, when you are interested in something, my friends who love to cook, they're always taking cooking classes and they're always reading new recipes. That to me is validation that that's a passion and they are learning a new skill. When I started podcasting, I had to learn how to edit because I do my podcast, Ignite Your Spark, in case anyone's interested. I'm the producer, the editor, the promoter, the CFO of my life, Chief Fun Officer. And I had to learn how to edit. And you know what? I did. But it was interesting because it was a passion. It ignited my spark because I could see the end result. I love what you said. I'm going to have to incorporate it into the book that I've been brewing in my head for, I don't know, millions of years. Who knows, it will get written, but that's very valid. Yes.
So just to recap real quick, people that you have to, so you're suggesting people sit and be quiet, find that thing that makes them happy, list 5 things that maybe they wanted to do or that they experienced as a kid that maybe they're not experiencing as an adult, which kind of leads me to, and I talked about finding something that makes you curious and makes you want to learn more and then share it with someone else. To me, passion is when it's not just pride, right?
No,
it's about, I'm so like my producer here, Jacob, he loves music and he loves telling stories. And so he has combined this passion of music and telling a story. And he's, contributed to a band called Tons and Tons. He also is a video editor. So he doesn't just do stuff for Transformation Talk Radio. He edits videos because he believes everybody has a story to be told and every story needs someone to tell it, not just the person who's experiencing the story. So in the relationship Jake and I have built, I have learned that is something that is really, truly a part of who he is he wants to be that person that helps tell someone else's story. So I would tell people that are listening today, if you get that little warm tickle in your diaphragm, if you get a thought that makes you smile, if you get a memory that makes you say, man, I wish I could go back to that time period, that is the essence of your spark, right? It's the essence of your spark.
That's
it may not be exactly the spark. Jump in.
we are on this. The next thing out of my mouth was going to be, it doesn't have to be what you want it to be. It has to include the essence. You just have to find the essence of what it was that you loved to do. Great minds.
You know, for me, the essence of being a park ranger, I remember being a kid, and it was in the time period where a kid could leave the house for 8 hours and you had to be within earshot of the dinner bell, right? But my parents never, I didn't have a cell phone. This is the other thing, to connect into your passion and your spark. I would tell everybody that they need to shut their digital media off, right? Because one of the things, so we know that cell phones actually emit a radio frequency, right? And we're told that can interfere with our sleep at night. So if it can interfere with our sleep at night, I'm confident that it can interfere with our own energy source, which is our heart center, our spark during the day. But then we have all those extra distracting things like apps and games and Google and finding things. That's a good tool for us to navigate our life. But I really feel like if people are trying to get remotivated, get reignited, find a passion in their relationship, find a passion in their job, find a passion in being a parent or getting through life or going to church, we have to disconnect.
Yes.
But my passion as a kid was putting a backpack on and maybe throwing a sandwich in the backpack and heading out on my bike. And maybe I'd build a fort that day. Maybe I'd climb a tree. Maybe I'd do both. But for me, the essence of my spark was going out someplace and exploring, and then letting my imagination create the world around me. And I feel like that's very connected to being a park ranger. It's also very connected to being a podcaster and a choice and courage coach, because my two favorite questions are what if and why not?
Yeah.
What if something different could be possible, and why not try?
Right.
At that moment, when you ask those two questions, you're asking your imagination and your creativity to engage. You're asking them to come play with you. And we let go of some of the structured distractions that our society says that we have to have, right? The essence is the exploration for me. The essence for you is the performance, the engagement, and the reaction, right?
Yes, exactly. I love how you put that. So much better than me. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Maybe we should just write a book together.
I am looking for collaboration. I decided at this point in my life, I want things to be easy. I'm not going to make it hard,
Right.
And that is why also, I guess this ties in because you did sort of ask me this question, or not. You said one of my biggest like pet peeves is when people think they're too old, or people think they're too young, or people think they're too skinny or too fat or too this or too that. Because honestly, you're not too much of anything. Although I don't know about you, but I was always told I was too much and I talk too much. And yeah, so there are people who are going to put, dim that spark because they're jealous or because you're disruptive. And back when I was growing up, that was disruptive. Me talking in this classroom, yeah, that was disruptive. I get it. But it was fun. Okay. Teacher, Miss Basil. Anyway.
You and I, like, you are that person. I'm just going to say this now. I saw this quote the other day that everybody needs the friend that they should not sit next to at a funeral. I think you're that friend for me. I think you and I would like get into a lot of trouble. We'd have people being like elbowing us and kicking us out to the side of the street. So you, Kim, I think are my friend. You're my really good inappropriate friend I should never take to a serious event.
Absolutely. I have a girlfriend, Cindy, shout out, that we used to go to the same church. They've moved. We don't go to the church anymore, but we were the people laughing in the back of the church. Our husbands were like, get away from each other. This is inappropriate. But, whatever.
Well, let's tie that to the spark, right? So I'm making a list here of some things that do dim our spark. In the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned that your parents had an expectation for you. I think things that dim our spark are when it's good to be aware of what other people's expectations are, but it's even better to put them in check and have a boundary and know what our own expectations are for ourselves, and know that maybe the other expectations, there are times that those expectations can inform us, but there are also times that we need to say, those are somebody else's expectations and they don't fit me. right? So one dimming is when we give in to everybody else's expectations. I don't think you're ever going to feel ignited if you're always trying to meet the expectations of someone else. Another thing is that you didn't say it, but I heard it. When someone says you need to be more sensible or more practical. And again, there are times that we need to be sensible and practical in order to get through life. Probably at the TSA security line is not the time to really just be pulling out all of the funny voices, right? There's a time you want to get through in a timely manner, sensible and practical, and expectations is the norm. And then when you're in the seated gated area, then you can open up with your improv, right? Right. But another thing is that not knowing ourselves, which we talked about before, not knowing our sense of place or our sense of purpose is another thing that can dim our spark. So other ways to tap into it and help other people find their spark.
Right. I don't know if you're finished, but
no, I am. Like, what's the question? How do we help other people find their spark when we find ours? One of your phrases, get lit so others can be lit too. And right. We don't mean lit in the negative way.
No. You reconnect to play. One of the most important things is to reconnect to play and to find a sense of wonder each and every day. I don't care what kind of personality you have, there's wonder out there in the universe. There is wonder. How about that rainbow that appeared over Buckingham Palace right immediately after the Queen passed onto her next glorious life and then disappeared? I have chills right now. That's magic. That's wonder, right? I ask my podcast guests, spoiler alert, because you're going to be on it, but don't think about it. How do you ignite your spark? And my most recent guest, and has not been released yet, just got released, said, I find the magic in every day. And people who are looking for that spark, find the magic, find a flower blooming, find an exoskeleton if that's what lights you up. But flowers do it for most people. Just look at nature, marvel at the wonder that we are eating fresh food, that it comes to our grocery store, our farmer's market, and we can eat that. There's something to ignite your spark, but it just takes work. You have to do it. You have to put the work in yourself in order to ignite that spark. We can't do it for you, but by showing our spark, we give you permission, as Marianne Williamson said, to glow and shine. I take it in my own words.
Right. And I would say, just before we go to break, I'm going to tie that into choice. I believe that we have more choice in our life than we're led to believe, and more choice in our life than we actually put into play. If we woke up every day, and the minute we brush our teeth or whatever we do first thing in the morning, we say, today I choose ... Yes. Today I am going to choose to look for magic.
Yes.
You and I both believe that you will find what you look for. If you get on the freeway and you expect to have a jerk that's going to cut you off in traffic, guess what? Somebody's going to cut you off in traffic. If you expect to find the glory and the beauty in actually listening to a podcast while you're driving to work, or listening to Transformation Talk Radio like you're doing now, then you're going to find that. So hold that thought. We're talking about choice. We're talking about connecting to your spark. I've got Kim Duff-Selby with me. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be right back. We've got 30 more minutes of finding your spark. Welcome back in, everybody. We are having a fun conversation with my friend Kim Selby. With white hair and a love of fitness and fashion, she's now a print and commercial model at the age of 65. Can you believe that? I mean, 21.
Right.
And we're just talking about the fact that you're never too old to reignite your passion, to reignite your spark, or to tap into something that literally lights you up and gives you joy. At the break, we were talking a little bit about some things that might dim our spark. And Kim, you were saying, one thing that you're noticing with some of your friends and maybe even in your own personal life is that there's one of the things that can kind of take away a little bit of the oomph of your spark is health related stuff. Without getting too personal or too detailed, do you want to speak a little bit about what you're noticing now that maybe you didn't know at an earlier point in your life, and tips for our listeners on if they're going through the same thing?
I would say, first of all, that If you are healthy, you don't think about it. But I encourage you to give thanks every day for that great health, because when you are not feeling optimal, you feel like, doo-doo, and you don't feel like igniting your spark. And I've had a few little minor health challenges, and actually about 8-9 years ago, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and that was a big challenge. I think you just have to know and believe that there is another side, that you will come out on the other side, for the most part, God willing. You need someone to assist you. I happen to have someone fabulous who is virtually assisting me in my challenges, because you need someone on your team. You don't want to give your power away to all the doctors and healers out there. Very important, but you need to listen to that intuition and use what feels right for you, what information, what supplements, whatever it is that can assist you on your healing journey. And it is challenging, because I have, just had some stuff that is pain, and it's really hard to get your spark ignited. But I'm going to tell you, Diane, if I have a podcast scheduled and I'm not feeling great, boom, I'm on. Our brain has the capability to bypass illness, to bypass what isn't serving us in the moment, if we choose to ignite our spark by following our passion. I love interviewing people. I love conversations. I find that I do not focus 1 second on pain, even if it's there, if I'm doing what I love.
Well, and I want to tag into that. I agree 100%. And I'll give you a quick anecdote. My dad just turned 80. He's an avid outdoorsman, pheasant hunter, deer hunter, elk hunter. And he's been having, some arthritis in his big toe on his left foot, and his right hip is hurting. So it's not even like it's on the same side of the body, right? Where you could sort of just compartmentalize all of that on one side. He's sort of doing this awkward, gait now, but, he just packed up and drove across country to do an elk hunting trip with my brother-in-law and another friend of his that he's known for 30 plus years. And, he said, well, I'll go see the doctor when I get back. Right. This man is hoping to get an elk. And if anybody's ever gotten an animal, if they've harvested an animal, there's going to be packing out. Like, this man is going to pack out 60 pounds of meat at any given time, out in the mountains of Colorado. And I'm sure he will feel his pain after he harvests the animal and after he dresses it, but he probably won't feel it as much while he's doing it, because he loves being in the outdoors. And even if he doesn't harvest an animal, the hiking around, the walking in the woods, that's all going to feed his soul and his spirit in a way that will not let him focus on his limitations. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I also believe, we're friends with a man named David George Brooke, who's that gratitude guy. And he says that gratitude turns whatever you have into enough. And I believe that I don't think it's physically possible for the brain to process the concept of gratitude while you're expressing it and feel anything but that. Like, right. I challenge any listener, if you tell me maybe you feel angry or upset microseconds before your gratitude, or milliseconds or seconds after you state your gratitude, but I don't think it's physically possible. And I'm not a psychologist or a brain surgeon, but I've tried this myself. When I've been upset about something, I've tried to stay upset and express gratitude. And what happens is whatever happened that made me upset goes away the minute I verbalize I'm grateful for my physical body. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. 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 I'm a huge believer in gratitude practice. That's something else as a Sparkle coach I give people as homework. And I'm going to shout out, since you shouted out someone, I'm shouting out Dr. Brooke Sheehan, because she's the one who's helping me with this. And if I am, of course, I text her all the time and she answers, which is awesome. But if I am feeling that, Diane, I will say, thank you for Dr. Brooke. I mean, that is, you know, it's just what I do. And I think giving gratitude is of the utmost importance in every single person's life. Why do you think religions focus on thank you and prayer? Because that's a form of gratitude. I am not an organized religious person, but spirit is all around us. I mean, you as a nature lover, I am a nature lover. I'm not like as hardcore as you, but I am a nature lover. I have to live somewhere where I have an outdoor space. I have to be outside. There's just so much to give thanks for every single day.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm hearing, if you feel like your spark has been dimmed, especially if you're in your third act, or maybe in your second act, or maybe in your first act, and you've got some pain, some discomfort, things that are different than your body, than what you expect. And, so we're talking about giving gratitude. We're talking about giving thanks. We're talking about getting help, right? That's a big one. My dad was anti-chiropractor. And the last time I went home, I was home 3 weeks ago, and he's telling me about some sciatic pain. And I said, it really sounds to me like you need to go see somebody. And he's like, I can manage it. And I said, how long has this been bothering you? Right. And he says, like 2 years. And I said, and how's that working for you? You're not getting any help. You're trying to manage it on your own. How's that working? And he said, not very good. And I said, well, maybe now is the time. Maybe there was a time earlier in your life that you could manage all of these things on your own, but now you're moving into a place where you need some help, some guidance, some information, some knowledge from somebody else who understands this condition a little bit better than you. Here's the other thing my dad's running into. Emotionally, the concept that he's 80, he's coming, we don't know how long he'll have. My grandmother, God rest her soul, lived to be 96. So, my dad is acutely aware that he might have 16 good years left, right? That's something that could dim your spark too.
Yeah.
But for you and I, we're like, okay, what are we going to do with that time that we have left?
Yeah.
Right. So that would be the other challenge I would offer our listeners, is flip the script. Right? If there's something that if you're focusing on the negative, whether it's pain, discomfort, uncertainty, fear, shame, guilt, all those really nasty negative emotions that just tend to sometimes take over, flip the script. Do I like the way I'm feeling? Yes or no? And if I don't like the way I'm feeling, what can I do, or who can I, get in my corner to help me feel differently? That's why we have coaches in the world, therapists, counselors, psychologists, coaches. We're non-judgmental. It doesn't do us any good to come in and, take sides on the story. All we want to do is help you reconnect to that thing that made you feel alive before, and help you realize what made you lose it, or maybe lose connection to it recently. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also in coaching will say, reframe it. Instead of I have to, change the wording to I get to. That's a little bit different than what you're speaking of in terms of seeking help and assistance. And there is always the marriage between Eastern and Western medicine. We need both. And I always encourage people to search for an alternative way of healing along with traditional medical advice. But first, you have to use your intuition. You have to go deep inside to figure out, once you get these opinions, what it is that you feel is going to work. We all tend to give our power away to so many people, Diane, and particularly as we're growing up. When you were saying that I was brought up where I was told, you have to do something practical. Everybody, society bombards us with shoulds and have tos and musts. From the time we enter preschool, you should do this. And yes, there are things we need to learn how to do. Obviously, get along with others. Don't steal. Don't take people's, toys. Don't hit. But there's also, I think, lacking the opportunity to create, to be our true, divine, authentic selves. And that's what I really want to encourage people to do, because it's never too late. I always wanted to act, put it on the back burner. Yes. And now at the age Oh my goodness, I'm almost 66, just a few more weeks. But last year at this time, I reached out and started getting jobs and print and modeling jobs. Not as many as I want, people, okay? Because I want someone to like pay me to wear cute clothes because Diane fashion, my passion, and fitness and fun. You know, the three F's, CFO.
Well, and so let's talk a little bit about so we talked about reconnecting to our sparkle, but talk a little bit about the creativity and the play, because I know that's really important to you. So if you're coaching somebody, let's just say that we have somebody who's like, man, I'm just not motivated. I just, I feel like I'm slogging through my job. It's the same routine every day. I'm not really unhappy, but I'm not really happy. How would you, as a creativity coach and somebody who really incorporates play into your training, how would you coach somebody who just feels like they're going through the motions in the mundane? Like, what can they do in their life?
Let's go back to that list that they created of things that brought them joy or that they loved doing. It's all about creating lists and writing things down so that you can reflect back. So what did you love to do? Did you love to draw? Go take an art class, go on to YouTube, start drawing. You don't have to pay money to do certain things. One thing that's really important to ignite your creative spark is to go to a museum if you like art. It doesn't have to be, a Van Gogh, Monet, Manet museum. It can be a museum of arts and crafts and design. It can be a museum of food. I don't know, there's probably something like that. But when you fuel the creative side, get out of your environment. The first thing is to step out, get out of your office, get out of your workspace, and do something different, because you are opening up neural pathways in your brain. Don't I sound like a scientist? I have no clue. But anyway, I do know that we have that ability to really change things up. I mean, how great is it after having been stuck at home for so many years to get out and actually do something? So fabulous. I think that we were all stuck in our little boxes for so long, and we had to find a way to get out. I mean, I danced on my own. I took an online yoga teacher certification. Now, I know I'm one of those people who makes more of an effort than most, but I did. I was interested. I love yoga. So I decided to become a teacher during the pandemic. I don't teach it, but I went through the training. So it is, again, finding that passion and taking a little tiny step forward towards something you love doing. To me, that's play.
I agree. And I'm going to tie two things in. Those people who know me really well know that I'm kind of a word nerd. So first of all, as a park ranger, everybody schedules a vacation, right? As the Western society, we have a tendency to save up all of our vacation time and cram it all together so we get 2 weeks. But what if our listeners just said, what's one thing today that I'm going to do differently this week? Right? I'm going to take a vacation, and I'm going to extend this metaphor out. What if I take a vacation from the regular route I drive to work and I drive a different direction? What if I take a vacation from relying on my dominant hand to brush my teeth and brush my hair, and I put those tools in my non-dominant hand and I try to figure it out, right? When you're talking about changing the neural pathways, we have to step out of the thing that is routine.
Right.
So the word purpose, so let me back up. So when we go to recreate, the root of the word is recreate. Recreate. When we go to a park to go play, we're recreating ourselves in that moment in play. When we go on vacation to recreate, however that looks like, we are recreating or giving ourselves a new piece of paper, a new place to feel new and inspired in. We are recreating the opportunity to do something different, right? That's the word nerd in me.
Yeah.
Purpose, the origin of purpose is actually Latin, which means proposere, which means to propose. And if you think about marriage proposals, that's the biggest thing of an engagement, right? Oh, I got engaged. I got proposed here. What's the story? What was the story of the proposal? What if we as humans made a commitment to ourselves that every day we would make small little proposals to ourself to get out and play, to do something different, and to recreate. What do you think about that?
I think it's fabulous. And one of the things in creativity coaching that I recommend is when you're out on a walk, choose a color. Choose the color yellow and see how many things, just focus on yellow, you can find that are yellow. Then choose red, because our mind, it gets used to seeing the same old things. And again, when we mix it up and look for something specific, and I also tell people, go down your stairs the other way. Go up and down backwards, go sideways, holding on, of course, especially if you're over, whatever. But because we do the same thing all the time, not in addition to using different muscles, it changes your brain. I'm a huge proponent of everything you just said. I always tell people drive a different way to work. Do not get locked in. I don't like that. I think people should step outside of their comfort zone instead of stay in it. And why is it called a comfort zone? Because it's comfortable.
Right. And that's another dimmer of our spark, right? If we do the same thing every day, the same way every day, if you think of a fire, if you just allow one stick of wood to burn, it's the same wood burning for however long it does, eventually it burns out. Yeah. The way a fire, a campfire, fire in your fireplace continues to grow and put heat out and throw sparks, literally, and sometimes figuratively, is you keep adding new wood to the fire. So if you don't want your fire to go out, if you don't want your sparks to go out, you have to keep adding new things into it. And sometimes adding new things in is quite as simple as removing something that's old or temporarily setting it aside.
Right. Ooh, that's beautiful. That fits right in with my spark analogy. Hello. Right.
Bring it in.
Yes. Yeah, you are a good wordsmith, man.
Well, I like playing with words, and that's something that lights me up too, right? I mean, it's something like, too often I think we in our society just accept the words that are given to us. Other cultures, other countries have, other languages have really, really beautiful words to describe things that English doesn't. One of my favorites is there's a Japanese word, korenbai, which literally it describes the filtering light that comes through a forest. Like when the sun rises in the morning and you see kind of the dust particles in the air, and it's not hazy, but it's not clear. And you almost feel like sunlight is wrapping itself around you as you walk into it. That's korenbai. That's Japanese for korenbai. We don't have a word in English that talks about the beautiful, magical moment that light sifts through the trees. No. Right? So for me, one of the things that lights me up, which is why I think podcasting and talking to people and coaching and speaking is a light up for me, is I now get to use words differently. I get to call people's attention to the words, and I get to challenge them and say, what are the words that you're using every day that shape your spark or shape your personality or shape your energy, and you're not even aware that you're doing it? To your point, when you said, I have to do this thing as opposed to I get to do this thing. Yeah. Right.
There's so many good things to unpack with everything that you've said. A lot of it also, we rely on the same, this is something that kind of bothers me. My poor husband will tell you, people who say the same things all the time without thinking about what they're saying, whether it's ciao or hola, don't say the same thing to me all the time. Use different words, use different expressions. How many times has the word amazing been overused? Myself included have used that word way too many times, but we really just don't use all of our brain. You know that. We use 10% of it, and there's so much more. And I think by opening doors to new adventures and to new experiences and to play, that we're giving our brains and our bodies the opportunity to learn and absorb new things. And a lot of people say, well, I can't travel or I can't do that. Well, you don't have to. There are ways to get outside of your comfort zone without taking a trip to Paris, although that sounds divine too.
Right. And since we're speaking of spark, I need you to tell our listeners how they can work with you and talk to them a little bit about your Three Tomatoes newsletter, because my computer is telling me that if I don't go get a cord, my spark is going to diminish.
Literally go.
So I'm going to step out for a minute, tell people about the newsletter and how they can connect with you, and I will be right back.
Okay. Well, I can be found under kimduffselby.com or Kim Duff Selby on Instagram or Facebook. And my name is Ignite Your Spark, but I mean, that's just what I do. I also write, I do a lot of different things. I sell men's custom clothes, you know, you got to make a paycheck somehow in there. And the podcast is strictly a love that I do. And I write a newsletter for women over a certain age about things to do in the San Francisco Bay Area, but it's called The Three Tomatoes, but there's a New York, LA, and a national edition as well. This is just something, another of my volunteer jobs. And I love it because I get to find out what's going on in the area, and I get to see some great theater because I research it, and I get to see what's going on out there that I wouldn't normally know.
And you subtitle it The Ultimate Insider's Guide for Women Who Aren't Kids.
Yes, that was not me. That was our head editor, Cheryl Benton. Kudos to her for creating this platform many years ago. Yes, I love that because we aren't kids. It's like, I'm not going to write about silent discos because, you know, generally people over 40 are not going to attend that, but they might.
Right. At the same time, what I love about your energy and your vibrancy is you remind women, regardless of their age, that they can be kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
In their own way.
Exactly, Diane. I get so frustrated when people say, well, I can't wear that, I'm too old. Well, I am not going to go out in short shorts. True. But I do wear shorts. You know what I mean? I think you have to really express yourself however you feel fit to express yourself. And don't be embarrassed. What the hell? Life is short. If you're embarrassed and you don't want to do this or do that for fear of being seen as, I'm sorry, let go of that. Let go of that right now. You really have to embrace who you are. That is really, I feel like my goal right now in this third act is to give other people permission to be themselves. And that's kind of a thing, you know, be your authentic self, blah, blah, blah. But I figure by me getting out there, wearing glasses, talking about the fact that I need frickin' cataract surgery, I mean, come on, let's just be ourselves. And if you don't want to be yourself, that's okay too. You know, be stuck in your box. I don't care. I can't.
Or you know, and you just brought in a great topic. So a lot of times I think we get stuck in the bookends of either or. It has to be this way or that way. And you just mentioned it, so I'm going to challenge you a little bit.
Okay.
What if you didn't stay stuck in your box, but you also didn't stay who you exactly you are?
That's okay.
What if you lived in between, where you dabble and you play and you say, well, maybe I want to try this on, or maybe I want to try this. So rather than saying I'm firmly planted in who I am and I'm not going to change, and I'm firmly planted in completely being this completely different thing, what if we just created flow? What if we just gave ourselves permission to ebb and flow, bring the pieces of ourselves into the conversation and into our life that's really us, and then also challenge ourselves to get out of our own comfort zone, and then just make it a dance.
Amen.
Right?
Amen. That is really what it should be. I'm talking hardcore one or the other, and I don't mean that, because honestly, what you just said is the way it should be. I'm not going to wear the sequins and feather boas to a wedding where it's not appropriate. I'm not. I'm going to respect. We have to respect certain boundaries too. But I think flowing back and forth, Diane, I love that, because you don't go anywhere. Rivers flow back and forth. If you are remaining stagnant, you're going to be attracting the flies, you're the mold, the whatever. We have to flow. I think that's a lovely, lovely metaphor for life, flowing.
Absolutely.
There you go. You said it.
There we go.
Coming. I already have our title. So, okay.
Oh, all right. I love it. Well, you'll have to talk to me after Aaron so we can both start working on it. So we have about a minute and a half left.
Okay.
Last thing that you want people to know about their spark, and how they can live their life better and more freely.
We need your spark. We need each and every one of you to unleash, even if it's a teeny tiny spark. We need it. The world needs it. Your spark is different than mine. Mine is different than Diane's. Diane's is different than her wife's. Mine is different than my husband's, but we all have a spark inside. And please, I just urge you to look deep inside, get it going, and share it with the world, because that is what is going to bring more lightness. And we need lightness right now on Earth.
Absolutely, 100%. And the choice is yours, right? We empower people on this show to make new choices and look at things through new perspectives. So choose to believe that you have a spark. Choose to believe that other people need to see it, and choose to believe that you have a right to put it into the world, whatever it looks like.
Absolutely. So beautiful.
I'm Diane McClay with the Diane McClay Show. Once again, we're going to wrap up on another Friday. Go into your weekend, find your spark. And if you don't know what yours is, ask your friend, and then have a conversation and reach back to us and let us know what you found out. You can find me at dianemcclay.com, and you can find Kim at kimduffselby.com. Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend. Ignite your spark and take good care of each other.
Thank you for listening to the Diane McClay Show, where you are empowered to enact change in your life through choice. You know that little voice in your head that's been telling you to pursue that passion project? Or maybe it's been screaming for you to go outside and explore the great outdoors. That voice is you, and you deserve to be heard. Listen, make a choice, make a change, and watch yourself grow. For more information about Diane or to work with her personally, visit dianemcclay.com.